Good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. I am Dr. Larkin Sanders, and I will be talking to you again about creative clarinet careers this morning, how to think about your career and how to maybe move in a direction that is, non-traditional, but still successful, and especially in clarinet playing. So I'm going to hit my screen share because I do have a presentation give share. All right. All right. So without further ado, let's just dive right in because we don't have a ton of time. So a little bit about the career climate for us as clarinetists, just some numbers, and I'm sorry if this looks incredibly bleak, but it is what it is. And I promise I pulled this from the census. So there are 328 million people living in the US, and about 35,000 of us are professional musicians and singers. This is according to the US Census, which was just collected. As you know, every 10 years they collect census information. And so last year was the most recent census. In 2019, about 27,000 music degrees were awarded. So that's not very far away from the number of professional musicians and singers in the US. And they're on the rise. There are more and more given out every year. The amount of baccalaureate fine arts degrees earned rose 123% just from 1991 to 2011. So even from the time that a lot of our teachers were in school, there are a lot more musicians and fine arts awards, degrees being awarded out there. And if we think about how many professional orchestras there are in the country, it's about 1,200 full-time pro and semi-pro professional orchestras. Oh, thank you. And as Jessica says, the ICA has now 4,300 members. So just keep that in mind, that if there are about 2,400 clarinet seats and twice as many almost clarinetists in ICA, that means there are definitely not enough jobs in orchestras for everybody. And that number includes semi-professional orchestras and full-time professional orchestras. And so sometimes we think of traditional career options for clarinetists like school music teacher, college music professor, orchestral musician, military musician, private music teacher, and musical theater and pit doubler. But surely there are more options, right? That doesn't seem like a long list of things you could possibly do with your music degree. And here you go. This is a sample of the data I found on the US Census site. So you might have other talents that will bring other options to you. It's I know that if you've ever read any Brene Brown or anything like that, you know that putting all your emotional eggs in one basket is kind of an unhealthy way to live your life. I mean, we can't really help it because we're musicians and our music is our identity, but surely there are other things that we're all good at, right? So consider some of these topics, are you organized? Are you a great communicator? Are you outgoing? Are you a good writer? Are you visually artistic, crafty, great with kids, interested in multiple genres, mechanically minded, good with computers? And these are just a few examples of different things that you can add to your career and things that you can do to make you a little bit more marketable or a little bit more diverse. In particular, I know I am really organized, and so I do have a lot of arts administration experience, and I really love being on that side of the music field in general. And so I'm trying to think of some of these things that I am not. I am not necessarily interested in multiple genres, so I'm not a great jazz band leader or something like that. And so this is also another way of thinking of your career path. And I learned how to make this tree from Angela Miles Beeching's book, Beyond Talent. If you don't own a copy of this book, it is a must buy today. It's a really great book on how to kind of organize yourself and how to prepare yourself for success in the music field. She is the career advisor for the Manhattan School of Music and an awesome, awesome lady. So she came to Florida State when I was a student there and walked us all through her example of like life chart building. So this is kind of my approach to the life chart building. It's a little bit different than the way she does it, but definitely from her idea. So here we have at the top of this, Larkin Sanders, human. That's right. Before anything else, I am just like a person, like anybody else. So then if we go to the next level, on half of myself, I'm a musician, right? Just like all of us. And then on the other half, I have my personality. So it's like however you want to think about categorizing yourself or other people. Maybe you don't like categorizing yourself and you'd rather list like a handful of characteristics that you possess or talents you possess. But I put my personality down. So I'm an ENFJ or a 3-wing 2 in an Enneagram or a Ravenclaw, like however you want to think of yourself or me. And if we take it down another level, we can kind of split like my musical talents into composing and performing. So I did study composition in a lot of my degrees, and I still compose and arrange a lot today. And I'm a performer. I've like obviously gotten all my degrees in clarinet performance, just like so many of you. And within my personality, I have a knack for nurturing people and for leadership in general. I really like being a bossy pants. And I also really like making sure that people are reaching their full potential. And we can take it a step further. As a composer, I did start receiving commissions when I was in graduate school. As a performer, I started gaining experience as an orchestral musician and a chamber musician, and in addition to all my solo recital experience, right? I'm hoping you're all getting these experiences at school. And then you can see that my chart kind of drifts into my personality type, right? Because as a performer and as someone with my personality type, I also had a keen interest in teaching private lessons and studio teaching. So I became a studio teacher. And then I also became an artist clinician for D'Addario when I was in graduate school. But even that kind of bleeds into both my performer musician side and my personality in general. So of course, there are a lot of other things that I did when I was in school and even at the beginning of my professional life. But these were the things that tended to lead me down the path of most happiness, peak happiness and peak prosperity, if you will. And so now this is kind of a summary of the projects that are nearest and dearest to me. And they all, you can see, are all blending together across both the musician side of myself and my own personality. So I self-publish all my music, and I'm still writing. I have written books now. I've published several prose books. I run a music festival. The acronym TFO stands for Taney Como Festival Orchestra. I also am leading several chamber music ensembles, and porch music is currently the busiest one out of all like five of them. I also started a clarinet shop, which we are in right now, called the Clever Clarinetist, and I teach at a university, Washburn University. So I think this was a really helpful way for me to kind of weed through the things that didn't mean anything to me, that weren't necessarily the most pleasant of activities or things I didn't enjoy as much, and to get down to the nitty-gritty of the things I enjoy. And as you can see, there's still a lot of stuff. But that's something I think that's really important to an entrepreneurial musician, is that they're very diverse and they have a lot of things that they're good at. So now we've gotten to this place where we realize that we are more than just musicians. So what now? Consider, have you earned opportunities? So what are some things that people have asked you to do? Or what are some things that you have sought? And what do they have in common? And how are they different? So this is just basic auditing skills, thinking about how things are similar and how they're different, right? And what benefits have these opportunities yielded? Have they expanded your network? Have they improved your artistic growth? Did you get any money for it? Did you get paid for it? Or did you acquire any new skills? And what fills you with pride? So do you have a crowning achievement? Think about something like that, a crowning achievement, or a moment in your life or several moments in your life that really made you feel fulfilled, and think about how you could get more opportunities like that. What is it going to take for you to do more of those things? And also consider the opposite side of the spectrum. What gives you anxiety? What makes you unhappy? I know we saw my chart back there, and there was actually an aspect of it that gave me anxiety most of the time, and that's actually playing in the orchestra. Playing in the orchestra gives me a lot of anxiety, and so I do not pursue orchestral careers as much as I do, or orchestral opportunities as much as I pursue the other opportunities that come before me. So if you are really scared of the idea of becoming an entrepreneur and having to make your own salary and to, scrape by for a little bit, there are a lot of other possibilities for salaried career paths. And I think this list is really important because when I think about myself as an undergraduate student, I didn't know any of this stuff existed. No idea. And I went to an accredited school of music, and no one told me that this stuff was an option. Because I found myself really inclined towards chamber music management when I was an undergrad. I had several different ensembles, and I was hooking them up with gigs and working hard to network that way. So it would have been really great if I knew that arts administration, for example, was an option, and that there are so many different facets of the arts administration field. Whether you want to be a super bossy pants like me and be in the executive realm, or the artistic leadership realm, marketing and communications. I also worked for 2 years full-time as a marketing director for a chamber music series here in Kansas City, and that was an excellent experience. It just, there wasn't enough clarinet playing in it. And for me, it was really important to have a lot of clarinet playing in my job. There's education and outreach. So if you have really excellent relationships with your peers who are music education majors, if you like working with children, but you don't want to do it full time, education and outreach jobs are a great option. Development and fundraising, these are for the most special of us all, because that involves raising money for organizations. So all these things in arts administration are with nonprofit groups, and development really means fundraising. So raising money so that your organization can operate. And of course, there's things like artist management, and artist management would be the for-profit side of arts administration. So having a team of talent, managing talented people and making sure they are getting the gigs and opportunities they deserve. And of course, you can go into things like production, the behind the scenes things like sound engineering and recording, event planning, theater technician work, and venue management. Those are also great options. And don't forget that apparently musicians make excellent doctors and lawyers. So if you ever get to the point where you really feel like you're ready for something either a powerful transition or are ready, to do something really, scientific and make a lot of money, medicine and law are great options for people with music degrees. And that's because we're really good at sitting in rooms by ourselves and studying for long periods of time. All that time in the practice room is really paying off, as it turns out. So here are some of the tools of the trade, as we kind of get into some of the nitty-gritty of these things. Of course, you want to have reliable pieces of technology. And for me, that would just mean basically a phone and a computer at the minimum. You want to have a good cell phone and a reliable computer that's not crashing on you and that can do all the things that are expected of you. You definitely need to be able to keep a calendar, digital or paper, whichever one you need to be the most organized and the most reliable is what you need to do. If keeping a digital calendar is not as effective for you as keeping a paper calendar, you keep that paper calendar and you do great stuff. And also, print is not dead. Print materials are still really important. I keep business cards on me and they make a big impact, especially when we start getting to go to trade shows and stuff again. Business cards are a must-have. I have also used rec or postcards in the past to leave places, especially local music stores. If you're not interested in music retail yourself, that's a great option. And you should have your resume and CV on standby at any given time. And you'll see below have web presence, and in yellow, website. To me, the website is the most important thing. Something with a .com without a million slashes. So by that, I mean, buy your domain name. Go ahead and purchase that domain name so that your website is easy to find. And work on your social media skills. I know for me, my website is the reason that I have gotten most of my professional opportunities as a graduate of whatever, and being out of school. I can't stress that enough, that your website is so important. And if you're daunted by the concept of building a website, use a template. Go to places like Wix and Squarespace and use their templates. And of course, social media. And then recordings. It's really important to have good recordings of yourself. So good samples of your work, basically, on your website, and that you're refreshing them every couple of years or so. If you need to pay someone to make your recording, it's a worthwhile investment. And so we have some recommended brands of all these materials on the right. You can see I have listed like a handful of really good resources for all of these things that we just went over. And this is a really quick overview of business entities for anyone who is looking to start a business. Hopefully a lot of you are here because you are interested in going on your own and becoming an entrepreneur, and you're confused. You're probably a little bit confused about this concept of for-profit versus nonprofit, arts administration versus music business. Oh, what does it all mean? So this is like the really basic translation of it. So for me, I have founded both nonprofit and for-profit entities. So my shop, the Clever Clarinetist, is a for-profit entity, but my music festival, the Taneycoma Festival Orchestra, is a nonprofit entity. The Clever Clarinetist is an LLC. It's a limited liability company. And you can see some of the benefits for this are listed below. Only 80% of my income is taxable, and potential losses and closing won't wreck my life. So that means if, God forbid, if something crazy happened and someone sued the pants off of me, they would only get whatever the Clever Clarinetist owned. They wouldn't get my house or my dog or anything crazy like that. And there are a whole lot of steps to take to filing for an LLC. And you can see that below, prepare to file and create all these different things, articles of incorporation, FEIN, business plan, financial projections, city and state specific forms, and a Schedule C, and that's just your tax documentation. And it costs about $1,000 to get all that stuff together. At least in the state of Missouri, that's about what it cost me. And a nonprofit organization is going to be something that if you want to start like a music camp or a music school, or if you want to take your chamber ensemble on the road, or if you want to do something insane and start an orchestra festival like me, you would be in the nonprofit category. Some of the benefits of this is that there are no business taxes, so you don't pay taxes, and your donors receive tax benefits for donating to your organization. And you should prepare to file a handful of things. So the list is shorter on the nonprofit side, but this 1023 form that you see down here, prepare to file 1023 form may require legal help. It is like legal rocket science. It's like a 20-page form, and it's a nightmare. I did it myself, so you can do it too. But if you have access to legal help, if your uncle is a lawyer or whatever, like, use that person. And the 990 that's your yearly tax form, and the startup legal costs are going to run you about $2,000. But the good thing about that is that you won't have to do it again. So there, a lot of people want to know like what the basic differences between for-profit and nonprofit is. That in for-profit you have investors that are expecting a return on their investment, so they're expecting to put money into the business and to get money out of it. And for a nonprofit, they're making donations instead, so they're putting money into it and expecting a non-tangible return back, like concerts and community benefits. So what do you do now? You have all this information that I've just thrown at you. And you might be in various stages of your life, but if you are a student, this is what I recommend you do now. I'm a huge two-set violin fan. I just think they're hysterical, but I love this bit. Hey, Brett, look, someone that's not practicing. And I'm not trying to give you guys complexes about practicing, but if you are a student, your job is to be the best possible musician that you can be. And that should be your focus. Don't be a gig pig, be a practice room hog. Okay, that is not any better, but you know what I mean. Practice and listen. And by that, I mean, go to concerts, like listen to music, enjoy music, take business courses that all these musical graduates wish they had taken, that we didn't have when we were in school. Practice your scales and learn new repertoire. The time to practice is now, while you're in school. Like, learning repertoire it becomes increasingly difficult when you're out and about in the professional world. Give the best recitals that you can give. Start keeping your calendar and write everything down. I know you think you have a great memory, man, I did too, but once you start dropping the ball, is when you become less reliable. So keep your reputation as a reliable musician and write everything down. And type management, it takes practice. It's not necessarily something that comes naturally to everybody. Study other people's materials. Go to other people's websites, audit them. So determine what is good and what is bad. Exchange resumes and cover letters with your friends and go over them together. Borrow what you like from others and think critically about what you dislike. And create your own materials, of course. If you are just now getting into the field, if you are a new professional, go to concerts and gigs and be active in your musical community. This is the best way to meet people. I know when I moved to Kansas City 5 years ago, I literally would walk up to people at jazz clubs who played saxophone or clarinet and be like, hi, I'm new here. But that is actually resulted in a lot of jobs and a lot of work for me. So it's definitely worthwhile. And it's fun. Music is fun. Go listen to music. Seek out your community's resources. Most cities are going to have some kind of small business development center with free resources. I actually have an agent that I work with at the Small Business Development Center in Kansas City, and every time I work with him, it's free. I have not paid a dime to it, and it's the reason my business is fully funded and functional. If you are new to your community, be a yes person. So when you first move to a place, you're going to have to say yes to everything. You're going to have to donate a lot of time. You're not going to get paid for everything, but you just have to do it. Time management is still going to be challenging, but make sure you have time for practicing your fundamentals, like your scales and stuff like that. If you are worried about having enough practice time, just make sure you're at least getting your fundamentals in. Create programs that are sustainable to you or your ensemble's talents. And perform these programs as many times as you can. Every time you perform a program, it gets so much easier and so much better. I know that's something I had to really work on with my chamber ensembles here in Kansas City. And of course, continue to study others' materials and improve on your own. If you are a teacher, encourage your students to create their own opportunities and think of them often. So something I learned, I did a survey at the beginning of the Clever Clarinetist Foundation, and I conducted the survey with 60 clarinetists about topics they wish they had learned in school. And these were the top 7 topics that people wish they had learned about in school: instrument repair, arts administration, music entrepreneurship, music business, tax preparation, resume, cover letter writing, music technology. No one wanted more music theory or music history classes. Nobody. There's literally 0 people that wish they had had more of those classes. And on a scale of 1 to 10, survey participants averaged a 7 with their satisfaction of their degree program. So there is obviously work to be done in higher education. And here, a bibliography for you all for further reading. There are so many things. I did a lot of research for this presentation, and since we are running low on time, I'm going to bounce over it for now. if you would like a copy of the bibliography, I'd be happy to send it to you. Just shoot me an email.
Great. Yeah, we don't really have time for questions, so we're going to have to move on. But I really think that if you have questions, please contact Larkin. She has been really inspiring to me, and watching her career sort of grow and change has been really great, because we're colleagues from Michigan State, and we
Yeah.
both sort of came from a similar background of like, what do we do now after we graduated? So
Right.
I think it's living proof that you can find something to suit what your skill set is, and just sort of move on with your career in that way. And it's always really gratifying to see someone else following a similar path, their own path, but similar in some ways.
Yeah,
So, okay.
absolutely.
We have our next session starting in just a few minutes, structural issues and overuse syndrome. So be sure to check that out. And I will see you all again in a few minutes. Thanks, Larkin.
Thank you.